Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Matt and my brother Anthony from the Pitti Group Wealth Management, and today we're going to be talking about investment accounts for your children. A lot of times we get questions from either parents or grandparents that want to start putting money away for their kids, and they don't know what account to use for their children. So today we're going to be talking about some ideas and what may make the most sense for you.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a personal topic too. I myself have two kids, started doing some college planning for them. A lot of the people that we know or grew up with, went to college with, also doing the same thing. Matt here has two kids a wee bit older than mine, so his planning for his kids a little bit different, so we can touch on a little bit of personal experiences, kind of what we've done, as well as what we've recommended to clients depending on their situation as well.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I think the first one, which I don't know, it probably isn't the most thought of idea, but I think generally it's probably the the account that can probably be used for the most things.
Yeah,
is just a simple UTMA account. So it's an account that is in the child's name. You as the adult is the custodian, so you control the account until their age 18 to 21, depending
on where you live.
Yep, depending on where you live. But essentially, it's an account that can be used as an investment account. You can put money away into this. There's no limits, and you can invest it however you want, and you can spend the money however you want.
Yeah. If you've, I don't know if whenever I think of a UTMA or any kind of child savings account or investment account, I always think of the memes where it's like, I was a baby getting my diaper changed when I should have been investing for my retirement or saving up to buy a house. This is your chance to do that.
Right. Yeah.
This can be used for various things, like Matt was saying. When this becomes theirs, right around the age of 18 to 21, some people use it for, potentially buying a house or putting a down payment on a house, buying a vehicle down the road. So you're looking at it as far as you get 18 years of compounding interest over time. So it's just a little bit of a head start for your children. One of the things to keep in mind that I like to tell people is this is considered an asset to the child. So when you're thinking about some planning for your children, and you might be thinking about college, if your kid's going to go to college or not, this will pop up as an asset for them. So what that means is when you're looking for financial aid, they will look at this and take 20% of whatever the account value is and assess that towards financial aid. So if you have $10,000 in a UTMA account, they will essentially say that your eligibility for needs will decrease by $2,000. So that's something to keep in mind when you are planning for your children's education or future, as far as putting money into that account. Yeah. And there are certain things that you can do to help with that.
Yeah. Now, there is a ton of flexibility, like we've talked about. You can use it for education. You can use it for buying a car, putting money away for their first home. But with all those benefits, there is something to keep in mind, because when your child turns 18 or 21 and that becomes their account, they can do whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
So if they want to blow it on a trip to Cabo,
I was going to say Cancun.
we're
going to Mexico.
Yeah. They want to take their favorite advisor with them. That's what they can do. So in the famous line I have heard so many times from clients, like the parents are, well, if they don't know, they don't know. So if they don't know about the account, they're not going to use it. But realistically, though, when it is, they come of age, whether it's 18 to 21, depending on the state, that is their money. So that is something to keep in mind with those UTMAs, that, it is their asset to use however they see fit. So,
yeah. And then another thing that you can do, as far as decreasing the financial aid side of it is using that UTMA account for school supplies. So if you want to buy a laptop or buying a car so they could go off to college, whatever it may be, there are certain things that you can buy to decrease the amount that's in the account that'll help with the financial aid side of it. So maybe just doing a little bit of prior planning before then will help with that as well.
Yeah. Cool. So our next is probably the most common account that people think of.
Probably the most, I would say, common and almost controversial to a certain extent.
Yeah.
So the 529. So a lot of people, and when I get into the controversial side, it's not like it's a bad thing.
Right.
But a lot of people don't know if their kids will go to college in the future.
Right.
A lot of people go to trade schools or will just start working out of high school and get experience that way.
The other thing is sometimes they're like, well, what if my child gets a full scholarship?
Yes, that's a good one.
They get a full ride and now I don't need it. And I put all this money into a 529 plan that is going to become useless.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. So that's a lot of stuff to think about. So when I say controversial, it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just that there's so many different aspects to saving for 18 years down the road when it comes to your 529.
Yep. Now, with the 529, those expenses, the money that comes out needs to be spent for education. That could be room and board, that could be books, that could be laptop. The benefit of a 529 as far as the tax benefit, the money inside that grows tax deferred and it'll be tax-free growth. So you're not going to pay any additional tax on those distributions as long as it's for educational purposes.
Yep. They do offer some deductions depending on what state you are. There are no federal deductions for it, but they do offer some state deductions depending on where you live. And then getting back to the whole, well, what if my child doesn't go to school? You can change the beneficiary of the account pretty easily. You can, any kind of, I think pretty much any family member can be changed as the beneficiary.
Yeah. I've seen it where, sometimes the parent ends up going back to school or they're going to do some sort of education themselves and, they can use it for themselves. So that's something to kind of keep in mind.
And then one of the newest rules that they implemented was if you have unused funds in the account, you can roll that into a Roth IRA for your child. So there's a limit up to $35,000, and I think you have to do it the contribution year. So you have to do similarly as you were to do a Roth IRA contribution. So $7,000 per year for 5 years. But it's a great incentive as far as getting your child started for retirement planning at the age of 18 if you've got a little bit left over and they're not going to school, or whenever they graduate and you still have a little bit left over, you can put that into a Roth IRA.
Yeah. I'm in the process of doing this with a couple clients right now.
And they do have to have the account for 15 years before you're able to do it. So
Correct.
There is an eligibility side of it to keep in mind.
Yeah. So it's not like you can just open up the 529, then
throw some money into it,
then convert it to the Roth. Right.
Whenever you think you have an idea where you can get an advantage on this, just know they've made a law to prevent you from doing so.
There's always something. So keep that in mind. There are some restrictions on a lot of these accounts or benefits. So kind of best to kind of look over everything to see if it is the right fit.
Yeah.
And then the next question is, what happens if you take money out of the 529 that's for not, it's not for educational purposes. Then you could be, you might have to pay additional tax on that as well as a 10% penalty. So keep that in mind. If you're looking to just, I'm just going to take the money out of the 529, you might, face some tax complications or penalties. So,
and anyone can contribute to these accounts. You could have a grandparent, an uncle, distant relative, twice removed, whoever it is can contribute to these 529 accounts. And for those of you that have the availability to contribute a little bit more in one go. If you're single, you can contribute up to $95,000 in a lump sum, or if you're married, I believe it's 190. Essentially, what they do is they take the gift tax and multiply that by 5, and you can do a lump sum payment. The key caveat there is you can't make any more payments within those 5 years.
Right.
If you do anything else, you'll end up having a penalty for that. So it just has to be that one lump sum, and then you cannot contribute anything else to that account for 5 more years.
Yeah. Essentially, you're just like front loading it.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. Just using the time on your side, you get a little bit more time to have those compounding contributions that you made.
Now, a lot of time I get questions on, what should I do? What makes the most sense for my kids, or or often, they'll say, well, what do you do? And so I have UTMA for both my kids as well as 529. The 529, for the most part, I'm the one contributing to that, or grandparents or family members that want to contribute specifically for college.
Yep.
And then I also have the UTMA for them, and that's more for if they have birthdays or holidays and where they're getting some money.
That's so funny. I do the same thing.
Yeah, money for for gifts. Instead of putting that away for college expenses, I look at that as maybe money for them specifically to use however they want. So that's why they have their UTMA account. And then when they start working, that's probably the account that they'll fund as well, is that UTMA.
Yeah, looking back on it now, all those times that our grandma would slip me a $20 bill, I should have just thrown it into an account. Whether it was let's see, how old am I? It was probably 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah. Man,
that could have really compounded into something nice today.
she was slipping you 20s?
Yeah.
Oh, I was getting 50s. That's
what? Someday we'll have words.
Yeah, right? So speaking of, the next one, I guess the next account, which kind of transitions from the 529, the Roth conversion, would just be a Roth IRA. So if you have, if your child works, whether it's part-time or any sort of income, babysitting, they could open up a Roth IRA account and start contributing to that. You really kind of start putting money away into a retirement account and kind of building that nest egg for their future.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that is a little bit older will all agree time is your number one asset. So anytime that you can start earlier, saving up for retirement or saving up for any kind of financial goal, time is your number one asset. Even if it's a little bit of amount over time, anything is better than nothing. Even when it comes to the college savings or the UTMA, I've had discussions with people that are like, well, money might be a little bit tight. I could only contribute, $25, $50 a month into this 529. Well, anything's going to be better than nothing, especially when you've got such a long outlook as far as the financial goal. So, a Roth IRA is just a fantastic option for your kids, especially because they're taking that money out tax-free in retirement. That's something that they'll definitely thank you for later on down the road.
And they're gonna, it's creating that habit, right?
Yes, that's another thing.
When I first started, my first job when I was in high school, I was working at Wegmans. And, my parents, they forced me to, I think it was 10, it might have even been 15% of my paycheck.
And a financial advisor as a father is probably closer to 15.
Right. Yeah. The rule of thumb is 15. So 15% of my paycheck, I had to put into a Roth account. And so, every paycheck I would get, I'd put it in the bank and then transfer 15% into a Roth, which, at the time sucked. I'll admit it was like, why am I even doing this? But looking back now, it definitely makes sense and it definitely gave me a huge head start.
Yeah, Yeah, what were you making, like $7 an hour?
Me? No. My first job was
Yeah.
5.25.
5.25.
5.25.
Wow, that's not bad.
Yeah. That's
I want to say minimum wage when I started, it was like, oh, gosh, I think the lowest they could pay you was like $4.75 or something like that.
yeah.
It was something ridiculous.
Right. Yeah, and then the minimum wage kept increasing, and then I found out that new hires were making more than me. When I'm in college, I'm like, wait a second, I've
A
been
lot
here,
of life lessons at an early age.
I've been here 5 years, and I'm making less than these people.
But yeah, I mean, starting those habits is key. A big discussion with people is having some kind of financial literacy. Being aware of what taxes are doing to your paycheck, what taxes can do further down the road, what retirement planning can do, what putting money away can do, and compound interest and things along those lines. So just getting the habit of savings is just a great way of building that habit, especially for kids that are much younger, easy to, I don't want to say manipulate, but easy to create a habit for.
Right, mold them.
Exactly. That's a much better way to put it. But 10 to 15% into that account, and maybe you create this this game with them where it's, if you want something that's a fairly large gift, say, hey, I'll pay for half of it, you save up for the other half, and then they've got a little bit of skin in the game when they're buying it.
Right.
So they feel like they've earned it, and they know what it takes to save up for something they really want. Maybe they regret that decision later on down the road, and they're like, wow, I really should have saved my money for something else. That was a stupid thing to buy.
Buyer's remorse.
But those are all life lessons I would rather teach my kids now at an early age instead of later on down the road when they buy a sports car out of college, and that depreciates 50% over the first year, whatever it might be. But these things will gradually grow into larger and better habits.
Yeah. Keep in mind with the Roth IRA, their contribution limits are still, the $7,000 per year. And then as far as ownership, it is in the child's name, but you as the parent or whoever's opening up the Roth for the child is acting as the custodian.
Mm-hmm.
So they control the account until the child turns 18 to 21, depending on the state. So something to keep in mind if your child wants to open up a Roth, or you're opening up a Roth for a child.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool. And then the next one, which I think is fairly new or within the last few years, is kind of using some of these apps or fintech to help encourage kids to save, maybe even build credit, understand how to use a credit card or a debit card, putting money away for specific things, or even maybe donating or gifting money. So one of the apps that my kids use, that I have for my kids, is called Greenlight. And essentially it's an app where they get a debit card. It's tied to, you have control over it. So I get alerts every time my kids use their Greenlight card. I know how much they spent, where they're spending it on. But it's a nice way to allow them to start adulting, I guess is the best way to put it. You can tie it to chores. So, if you want to create a chore list for your kids, and, that's how they get their allowance, you can have the money sent from, your account directly to their Greenlight card. And, as they're marking off their chore list, they're getting their allowance. So from there, you can also dictate how that money can be spent. So they can have free range of it. You can say, a portion of your allowance goes to savings, a portion is going to be you're allowed to spend wherever, and maybe a portion is going away to, you have to make a charitable contribution. So it's a nice app feature, technology that is available now to knowledge and that base for them. So when they get in the real world, they know how a debit card works. They know how a credit card works.
So important.
Savings, or, visualizing, hey, if I want to buy a new baseball bat and, my parents say they'll pay for half of it. Well, now I know if I really want that bat, I need, $200.
Bats are expensive.
Yeah. And they break easily. And I know my allowance is X amount per week. I know I have to put this much into my weekly allowance in my savings account. Yeah. Or, if now I'm getting offered, extra money for little side jobs, maybe that's something that kind of pushes them to work a little harder, or maybe help out around the house a little bit more.
Yeah. I'm so excited for this next generation. I feel like it's going to really change the narrative on financial literacy. Like I talk to people all the time that are in credit card debt, all sorts of debt, and it's so hard to get out of it when you're paying 22, 24, 26% on whatever the balance is. So teaching your kids about credit cards early and how to manage debt and how to pay for things, it's such a imperative teaching opportunity. It's kind of exciting because I feel like a lot more people are getting into the financial literacy side and just understanding like what goes into savings and what goes into investing and things along those lines. So these kids are naturally going to absorb that if you're sharing that information with them. And an important thing is sharing that information,
right?
Sharing the knowledge that you have with your kids on, what goes on in the real world, because the schools aren't really teaching it as much right now, which they should be. That can be another podcast later on down the road. But I do think that's, it's a great tool that can be used for your kids and just helping prepare them for life later on.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So whether it's, the savings aspect, the spending aspect, the charitable aspect, or even the investment side of it, because in some of these apps you can even invest, so you can kind of help give them guidance there. I mean, that's a huge, when they actually can see it themselves and not just read about it, they're actually experiencing it. I mean, does wonders, as far as the education piece.
Yeah. Love that. There's a kid in our neighborhood that's offering car washes and garbage can cleaning. Package it together, $35.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and, they also have, I think, within Venmo, you can have like a Venmo kids account.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now, all you kids out there that
have
your lemonade stand.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And
set
people
up your
drive
Venmo QR code. They can just scan it. You know how many times I've seen these lemonade stands and I don't have cash on me?
Right.
I feel so bad, but I've got my phone on me all the time. I can just scan it.
Create a Venmo account for your kids.
Oh my gosh. If you don't take anything from today's podcast, take this.
Venmo for kids. So, they create their lemonade stand. They're getting money.
All you future entrepreneurs out there. I had a pizza stand when I was a kid. That would have been great.
If you had one, or you did have one?
I did have one.
I don't remember.
Yeah. Grandma and Grandpa's vegetable stand. I used to sell pizzas at it. I sold 3. I don't know if I actually sold 3 pizzas, but I had money from 3 pizzas that were sold. Grandma probably bought them herself.
Right. Did you make the pizza?
I made the pizzas myself. Yeah. It was Pitti's Pizzeria.
Pitti's Pizzeria.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Who knows?
I don't remember that.
You don't?
No.
Oh.
I don't know where I would have been.
I don't know. Pitti's Pizzeria was a real thing.
Franchise it.
Franchise. Click out Salvatore's.
Well, perfect. I mean, I think those are kind of the accounts that I would focus on. Obviously, there's other ones out there. So if you do have questions, or you want to learn more about any of those accounts, or kind of pick our brains on some of them, feel free to reach out.
What you should be doing, what you should be investing in, how to set the accounts up. Let us know. We'd be happy to walk through it. We can create a plan for what you might need for college tuition, because obviously that actually I think this last year was the first year college tuition has decreased over the last like 5 years. So even planning for what you need for college tuition later on down the road, we're happy to help you with that as well.
Sounds good. Well, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Like I said, keep those questions coming, those ideas coming, and we'll touch base on what we get in, and we're always happy to provide that information to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right. Take care. Thanks.